up next. Bradman Best defended by Greg Alexander. Plus, we'll have the highlights in Group 21 Rugby League as well as in the NBL1 East, and also into the Newcastle Rugby League competition. Also, the North Stars secure a victory. That's up next. Good evening. My name is Conklin McLeod and welcome to NBN's local sports news tonight.
The path based on basically one game, but that's what it feels like. Now, that might be accurate, but that's how it feels.
That is rude to Bradman Best, Brent. That is being rude to Bradman Best. Now, you think Bradman Best feels a star?
Greg Alexander defends Bradman Best.
You think what he's wanted to do all his footballing life was play Origin?
The Newcastle Rugby League to hit pause on the season and the win for the Newcastle North Stars after defeating the Ice Dogs in Sydney. But first though, New South Wales Blues great Greg Alexander has defended Bradman Best and has officially called his fellow journalist Brent Reid during a confronting issue disrespectful, and because of that, follows a disturbing question about Best, and also because of it, Alexander quickly defended Best over it. Anyway, here it is.
Everyone does, but Matt Burns and other guys are listening.
It's the Rugby League soap opera
Bradman Best scores 3 tries.
that had Greg Alexander fuming, as well as to defend one of our Newcastle Knights players, Bradman Best, after he was picked for State of Origin game number 3.
You've gone another path based on basically one game, but that's what it feels like. Now, that might be accurate, but that's how it feels.
That is rude to Bradman Best, Brent. That is being rude to Bradman Best. Now, you think Bradman Best, who was a star as an 18-year-old coming through the pathways, do you think what he's wanted to do all his footballing life was play Origin, and now you're talking about him representing New South Wales on the back of one game?
No, I'm saying
that's being disrespectful to Bradman Best.
That's not what I'm saying.
It is being disrespectful to Bradman Best.
No, I'm not being rude at all.
The arguing continued on until Alexander completely lost it
Everything you heard was Matt Burton.
and quickly argued back
I don't think Bradman's name's ever been
right towards Brent Reid.
Bradman's name has been spoken about for quite some time. Isaac Tago was discussed. Will Penasini wasn't. Isaac Tago's been in great form, playing left centre for Penrith, and he was an option. Matt Burton was an option, but we've gone with Bradman Best. Don't disrespect him by saying it was on the back of one game.
And of course, I've got to say this to Greg Alexander, and of course, thank you for defending Bradman Best. Still in league, and of course, the Newcastle Rugby League will hit pause on its season this weekend thanks to a designated wet weather round With a bye to follow for Souths, the Lions will have a fortnight to prepare for a top-of-the-table clash against the Maitland Pickers.
After his 100th match, this shows how much Ryan Glanville means to his Souths teammates.
It's amazing. Love playing here, love playing with this club, and to get a win against, a rivalry team like West, it's really fitting.
The skipper starred in his milestone match last weekend, teaming up with Marshall Singh to secure a 10th straight win for the Lions.
We're blessed with Singy. He's one of the fastest blokes I've ever met, so you sort of can put it anywhere and Singy will find it.
It's just honour playing with him, such a good fella. Just everyone in the club loves him, and really good to get the win for him.
The back end of the Newcastle Rugby League draw will see Souths have the next fortnight off.
We're tracking quite well at the moment. There's still a lot of things we can work on, and there's still a lot of footy to be played before finals time, so we've got 2 weeks off that we need to work on, and I'm sure we will.
Their return, Sleepy's Day against Maitland.
We've got a couple of weeks off, and then we've got big game against Maitland, so it should be good.
Souths will be without Jacob Affleck for the clash, copping a 2-game ban for this shoulder charge. The Entrance's big win over Cessnock on Saturday has proved costly. Toby Key suspended for 2 matches, and Kyle McLean 1, both for dangerous contact. And Justin Worley has also accepted a 1-match suspension for dangerous contact.
What a bunch of bad boys they are, of course, up to the local rugby league judiciary, and of course in the Australian Ice Hockey League, the Newcastle North Stars had a win over the Ice Dogs in Sydney over the weekend, 5 points to 1. And of course, don't forget they're off to Adelaide this weekend for a double header, where they play against the Adrenaline. Still in rugby league and in the New South Wales competition, and of course in the New South Wales Cup, the Newcastle Knights managed to beat the Sydney Roosters up at Wentworth Park over the weekend in round 19 with a huge 40-point victory. It was massive for the Knights, who were just too strong for their rivals right throughout the game. It was a spectacular one for the Newcastle Knights. It was right up in the reserve grade New South Wales Cup. And of course, the Knights scored first, right up in the first half. Before the Roosters struck back. And the Knights continued on right throughout the second half. Both teams eventually becoming enemies right throughout the game, and also becoming rivals as well as foes. But of course, Newcastle had to do something, with the Knights securing one of the best historic ones. And of course, the Knights had a good verge of a comeback in the second half, scoring a couple of tries. But then the Roosters had a lot before the Roosters tried to ruin the Knights' chances, but no, it wasn't enough though, as the Knights quickly scored right throughout the game and eventually came back with a 40-point win. That all made history, with the Knights' New South Wales Cup side's finals hopes and dreams alive, despite sitting in 12th on the ladder. And of course, the Knights managed to secure a huge but massive 46-28 victory. And of course, next up for the Knights is at home at McDonald Jones Stadium this Friday afternoon, where they take on the Western Suburbs Magpies. And of course, the match kicks off at 5:30. Coming up, a huge victory for the Newcastle Falcons.
Fabric lounges, dining, rugs and outdoor, plus freaky savings on Murchison Human Gourmet Traveller Dinnerware. No tricks, just treats. This Harrow weekend at Domain ends Monday.
There's nothing more important than home.
And the McDonald Jones, building them is the greatest job of all.
Bred in the Hunter and grown to be the biggest builder in New South Wales.
They will keep working and do what it takes.
Because we love where we live.
We're proud to wear our heart on our sleeve.
And be here to build it better tomorrow.
Because there's no place like home.
At Domain, save 20 to 60% off selected fabric and leather lounges, dining, rugs and outdoor, plus freaky savings on Murchison Human Gourmet Traveller Dinnerware. No tricks, just treats. This Harrow weekend at Domain ends Monday.
Well, I'm a local boy. I grew up with NBN News. I travelled the world, and then I came back home. And now I get to read the news on NBN every single night. It's the best job in the world. I love the story. I love telling the story. That is what I get to do every single day, and that's really special. The human connection, that human element is so incredibly important because we get moved as well.
The NBL1 East, the Newcastle Falcons have got their sights on the finals alive after securing huge victories. Of course, it was the men's turn to do it.
Setting a screen, move a blocker. And
First, it was the Falcons men who quickly had to do it with Newcastle beating Penrith right up in Sydney.
Oh, great little cut. And the basket will count with the foul.
Slam dunks coming from the Newcastle Falcons as they had away shirts on for the entire game.
And Newcastle out
And
here.
of course, the Falcons won 96
Coming out here
to 69.
victorious in a 96-69 victory.
Then Newcastle's women also secured a victory as well,
Yeah.
as their finals hopes also became alive as well by securing one of the best wins of all.
Get ready for a gear up the last 3 home games.
And of course, with the Falcons having a 74-44 victory.
74.
But meanwhile, things did not go good for the Falcons men at home. They came close to securing a win against the Illawarra, but they lost.
Falcons will probably need the foul. They're not going to be able to.
But it was too late.
Finish. Time out.
But thankfully, the Newcastle Falcons women had a much better time at home, And of course, they managed to beat the Illawarra Hawks with a massive victory, keeping their dreams and hopes of the finals alive. Scoring a couple of slam dunks, it's what the Falcons had to do up at home.
That's a three from Curtin. If I'm the Hawks, I'm trying to see if I go back into Leon again here, but
Both teams managing to score.
but still go in there. Good athlete. On the break, looking that would do. Deep three. Got it. No, in and out.
But thankfully, Newcastle eventually won
McGlashan might just dribble this one out.
with a huge 72-45 victory.
Win for the Falcons.
But meanwhile, the Maitland Mustangs had their final home game of the season, keeping their dreams of the finals alive,
Unbelievable.
with the men beating the Illawarra Hawks,
Edwards gets it.
which occurred on
Cranston
Saturday.
Lowndes got it. For three. William Cranston Lowndes forces the time out. Not quite.
But of course, huge for the Mustangs.
Edwards, he has Warren there on the right. He's going to go for
And
it.
of course, Maitland were too good. Slam dunks all became the best. Maitland winning 105-87.
Pictures right now. 105-87. But
And of course, still on the Mustangs and Maitland's women also got the job done, securing a massive victory over Illawarra. It was huge for Maitland, who were too strong for their rivals right throughout the game.
Good defensive player. Nice.
Nice little hook shot.
And of course, thankfully, Maitland managed to win the game 69-44.
Maitland come away victors here at the Maitland Federation Centre.
But meanwhile, it was incredible for the Maitland Mustangs men up in Sydney.
Ramos off the handoff. Stolen by Mayer.
But of course, thankfully,
Numbers there.
Maitland managed to beat Penrith with a 101-95 victory.
And a valiant effort by Penrith Panthers today, and the crowd showing their appreciation as well. Action with
It
Washington.
was also a huge one for the Mustangs, and of course for Maitland's women also securing a victory.
Downhill and finishes it. 53-48.
And of course Maitland's women won 54-48.
And that's the end of this game. The Maitland Mustangs defeat the Penrith Panthers 54-48.
Still in the NBL1 East, and the Central Coast Crusaders men's team has recorded their first win since round 4 in a down-to-the-wire match. The Crusaders snagging a 104-102 point win at home against the Inner West Bulls, as Montana Claire reports.
Off the back of 3 narrow losses, the Crusaders were determined to storm back at home, putting early points on the board against the Inner West Bulls.
Inside to McCann. Tight. Muscles in. Is strong.
By the end of the first quarter, the Crusaders edged ahead
Cassidy. Schwade for three. Jamal.
and stretched it further in the second, pulling ahead by 17 points.
Bailey. With a floater. Wow. He's done it, Cassidy.
They managed to maintain the lead in the third, finishing off with a stunning three-pointer from Jamal Schwab.
Off the glass. Oh, Jamal.
But in the dying seconds of the game, it looked like it might all unravel for the Crusaders.
Oh, Tolome. Tolome. Big shot.
The Bulls nipping at their heels.
With a Hail Mary. Big shot. Tony Tolome.
Backs against the wall, the Crusaders didn't let up.
That's what we want. The Central Coast Crusaders have held on to win an absolute classic,
Sealing their first nail-biting win since April. Meanwhile, in the women's, the score was level with 30 seconds to go. Then, just seconds before the end, a foul to the Bulls saw them seal the win with 2 free shots. The final score, 74-71. Montana Claire, NBN News.
To round 12 of the AFL Hunter Central Coast, and Maitland has beaten Nelson Bay, while Singleton had to call off their match against Killarney Vale, while Cardiff defeated Warners Bay and Telgor Avoca defeated Newcastle City. And of course, round 13 kicks off this weekend with the entrance Batter Bay up against Telgor Avoca, while Maitland is up against Newcastle City. Warners Bay is up against Nelson Bay, and Singleton is up against Cardiff. Also, Cardiff secured a win in round 12 of the men's played as well against Warners Bay, 91-9. And of course, Wyong beat Killarney Vale. Newcastle City annihilated Telgor Avoca. Of course, round 13 is also on. Warners Bay are up against Killarney Vale. Cardiff is at home against Telgor Avoca, while Wyong is up against Newcastle City. To round 12 of the Black Diamond Shield, and Newcastle City demolished Lake Macquarie, while Gosford was forced to postpone its match with Singleton, and so too did Muswellbrook and Maitland. But meanwhile, everything gets better back in round 13 as Maitland takes on Newcastle City. Singleton is up against the entrance Batter Bay, and Gosford is up against Muswellbrook. In round 12 of the women's, and Cardiff has beaten Warners Bay 40 points to 7. Wow. And of course, Killarney Vale has beaten Lake Macquarie, while Newcastle City defeated Telgor Avoca. Don't forget it's round 13, and Lake Macquarie is at home in Talcott against Newcastle City, while Warners Bay is up against Telgor Avoca, and the Singleton Roosters return after a few weeks off due to that terrible tragedy that occurred up at Greta. They'll play against the Cardiff Hawks in an emotional charge match that will occur on Saturday afternoon. To round 12 of the Black Diamond Plate, and Newcastle City has beaten Telgor Avoca. Maitland has beaten Muswellbrook. Gosford has defeated Killarney Vale, and Cardiff has beaten Port Stephens 12 points to 10. Of course, round 13 kicks off on Saturday. Maitland is up against Newcastle City. The entrance Batter Bay up against Telgor Avoca, which means it's a battle of the local teams. Port Stephens are up against Muswellbrook, while Gosford are at home against Cardiff. And don't forget round 10 of the Newcastle and Hunter Rugby League kicks off on Saturday. It's the Ladies League tag of Raymond Terrace up against Cessnock. Clarencetown is up against Awabakal, or Dungog is up against Cardiff. Also, Morpeth are up against Swansea. Hamilton is up against Stroud. Round 10 of the men's, and of course, Lakeshore United are up against Wallsend Maryland this Saturday. And also that day sees Hamilton up against Shortland. Cardiff has a home game to win against Budgewoi. Scone has produced one of the best wins. Scone has produced one of the best victories over their rival Singleton in round 13 of the Group 21 Rugby League competition, defeating them with a huge victory. It was massive for Scone, with the Thoroughbreds too strong for their rivals right throughout the game. Of course, the final score with Scone winning the match 58-6. In the other games, Greta Brankston defeated Denman 50-16, while Muswellbrook defeated Aberdeen 46-18. And of course, that's about it for now, and of course, thanks again for your company. Good night.